Very much for the introduction. Glad to be here, and I'm glad to present the results of a recent retirement plan trend studies that we did here at Pentegra. Again, my name is Rich Rouser from Pentegra. I'm a senior vice president with the company in charge of client satisfaction. So one of the things that we did recently is a study to analyze the impacts of the recent pandemic and to help make an assessment of credit unions in terms of what are their needs, what are their goals, what are their desires, and essentially try to help find ways to help them through the pandemic. So we had a number of interesting findings throughout the study. This is just a slide of the top 5 or 10 biggest concerns. I think the biggest concerns, actually, when you look at the details of the study, were the fact that credit unions really had a strong desire, obviously, to continue to provide exceptional service to their members. That was goal number one, which was very, very hard for a lot of us to do throughout the pandemic. The other thing is retaining members of credit unions. That was a key consideration or a key factor in terms of trying to continue to run the credit union businesses throughout most of 2020 and into 2021. Other things that were very important to credit unions that we discovered in the study was attracting new business, new members to the credit union, and also an attempt to try to get members to use additional products offered by the credit unions. And again, controlling expenses is always a consideration. Somewhat difficult to do, I think, in a lot of cases. I think the good news, when you really dig into the details of how credit unions reacted throughout the pandemic, very, very few, at least by our findings in this study, had furloughs or layoffs, which is kind of a really, really great thing for staff members of credit unions, that there was a dedication to not only look after the well-being of the employees' health, but also to try to keep full employment. So we found that to be a really, really great factor here. Some of the other things that became apparent is that many of our credit union clients are trying to find new ways to reach their customers online or through other mechanisms. I know personally, I'm a member of a credit union that I actually did engage them in terms of using additional products and services, which again, I think their ability to reach out via other means during the pandemic, I think, was critical to solidifying that relationship, at least on a personal level. So that's just personal experience. But again, our study essentially identified that fact was in fact going on at quite a few of the credit unions that we work with. The other thing is organizational ability and speed and agility, I should say, and the ability to manage during the pandemic is another great finding that we had here. You know, certainly staffing had to be thinned down to a degree to keep people socially distanced, if you will, but again, by all means that we've identified, credit unions managed through this pretty effectively, which is the good news. The other thing is clients and credit unions in particular recognize that retirement plans are a key benefit that they're providing to their staff members and to their employees. Matter of fact, I think when you look at benefits in general, healthcare probably number one, vacation usually number two, retirement plans are really strong number three. And you know, more and more these days, the 401k is becoming the predominant, in fact, the sole retirement plan for many employees. So it's more important than ever, right, for credit unions to focus on the structure of that benefit, the soundness, and really the practical ability to help participants and employees achieve retirement success. I mean, quite honestly, that's what it's all about. How do you successfully implement this program, retirement plan program, to basically create retirement success and affordability to retire long term? That's really the key driver here. Again, we found a great desire of credit unions to continue to improve their plan. We got sound feedback that many of the credit unions are doing diligence on their clients relatively frequently, which is the great news. You know, there's kind of an ever-evolving environment out there from a legislative standpoint. So it's more critical than ever to have the right knowledge, right, to be able to use the plan effectively, and to certainly to understand, at least at the credit union level, that credit unions are fiduciaries. Generally speaking, they're fiduciaries of the plans, which means they've got legal requirements to make sure they're running efficiently and effectively and properly, right? So one of the things that we found in our study is that many of the credit union members or credit unions out there really want some ability to help them with fiduciary offerings within the plan. And one of the things that can happen, and we work in a fiduciary capacity with many of our clients, is to offload that to a professional institutional fiduciary like Pentegra. This slide that I just put up is talking about fiduciary oversight, which really was critical last year. There's probably more retirement plan legislation done last year than in any of the last 10 years. CARES Act was one big factor here. We helped many clients through interpretation and implementation of that program, which really enabled credit unions to put money in the hands of participants who really needed it if they were negatively impacted by COVID-19 or the pandemic in general. So again, fiduciary outsourcing really, I think, was a key for many of our credit union clients during the pandemic, and continues to be a big factor in the role that Pentegra plays when we work with credit unions and others in terms of creating a successful retirement plan. So again, that was, you know, if you look at the details of the study, I think over 60% of the respondents either had fiduciary outsourcing in place or were looking to get that in place in the near term. And it's really just the element of outsourcing that critical function to an industry expert. And that is a role that we cherish and we like to serve in, and we like to take that liability and responsibility off the shoulders of our credit union clients. I appreciate your time, and I hope you take the time to look further into the details of the study that we just talked about. And obviously, that information is available via NAFQ services or Pentegra. Again, thanks for your time.